Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're listening to this on-demand version. My name is Sean Crowley. I'm the Vice President of Portfolio Marketing at Dun Bradstreet, and it's my pleasure to be joined today by Jerry Nichols, who is the leader of marketing analytics at Bottomline. We've got a great story and only a limited amount of time to talk about it, so I'm going to jump right into the slides here. So when we look at the market here today, there's a number of key challenges that organizations are facing. And when you think about it, there is, privacy is a major concern, right? As the democratization of customer data, personal data starts to emerge, customers and shoppers and buyers want more control over their own personal information. But at the same time, they also want more personalization in the buyer's journey that they're going through. So in some sense, the B2C buying behaviors that we have in terms of our own personal shopping is dramatically bleeding into how we operate and buy and evaluate products in a business-to-business setting. And in order to address those needs and in order to engage more effectively with consumers and buyers, B2B businesses need to improve the level of personalization that they're offering to facilitate a more streamlined buyer's journey. In order to do this, though, this is starting to create a proliferation of sales tech, MarTech, and now ad tech tools, all working together. D&B did some primary research last year, and we found of those surveys, on average, they're using 10 sales and MarTech tools. When you throw ad tech on top of that, the number starts to increase as well. And when you look at all these things combined, it starts making it increasingly more difficult for businesses to understand the performance of their marketing campaigns and to prove an ROI for their spend. This is really pushing people to start looking at their go-to-market strategies through a rev tech lens. As ad tech and MarTech and sales systems start to be utilized, it's becoming increasingly important to facilitate integration and understand the flow of data and the flow of a customer's buyer's journey across these various technologies. And in order to do this, RevTech platforms have to have the capability to combine online and offline data. And in many cases, you're starting to hear about these ID graphs that help to do that type of mapping. And one of the things that we're very excited about is that D&B now provides that intelligence and the connectivity that revenue teams need to build precise target audiences, to streamline how the data flows between those tools, and give them the ability to effectively measure the impact that they're having on their pipeline and how effectively they're utilizing their marketing spend. I'm going to hand things off to Jerry here because he's got a great story that looks at how do you activate a data-driven go-to-market strategy that helps to capitalize on the opportunity that we have and overcome some of these challenges that I just talked about. Jerry?
Excellent, Sean. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to be here today and could not be more delighted with our partnership with Dun Bradstreet. So what I'd like to do first is take a minute to, next slide, please, provide a little bit of background about who Bottomline is. Bottomline is a leading software as a service platform. We provide services for business payments and digital banking to customers across the globe. We're in 92 countries and 6 continents, over 10,000 corporate customers, 600 of the Fortune 100 companies are our clients, as well as 15 of the top 25 global banks. So when we think about activating a data-driven marketing strategy in less than 60 days, love to share with the team, with this backdrop, a few things. What we're solving for, what our business problem was, what we did to build our data partnership with D&B through our data platform, how we use the data, how do we use the data to make better informed decisions as part of the planning process and go to market for FY22. And also, it's been almost a year now since our first 60 days. Love to share with you some of the business transformation that we've continued to make along the way. Next slide, please. So what we're solving for, the business challenge, next slide, please, is this. So imagine if you join an organization and your data look like this. What does it look like? Well, first of all, it's siloed. And even within those silos, the data isn't clear and you really have limited visibility. So this was literally the situation that Heather Loisel, our head of marketing operations, and myself walked into when we first joined Bottomline about a year and a half ago. Next slide, please. So if we think about, wow, what are we solving for? What could cause this, right? And believe it or not, it's probably more common than folks realize. Our company growth was fueled by acquisition. We had a scenario in which each LOB operated very autonomously. They had their own P&L, they had their own sales objectives, they had their own go-to-market plans, and we were really marketing was the only shared service across all the LOBs. Now, what's interesting as part of this is that we had purposeful duplicates within Salesforce itself. So each LOB kind of operated their own version of the truth in Salesforce. So the same company could be in there 7 or 8 times with just some slight customization. So I'll talk about that more in just a minute. But really what we needed was a single source of truth in defining our accounts, the ability to leverage the D&B family hierarchy to link accounts and contacts together, the ability to scale at speed while keeping that continuity, and answer some pretty basic questions, right? How many accounts do I have? How many contacts do we have? How many do we need to get? What is our coverage specifically within each of our ideal customer profile, which is a very informed go-to-market motion between sales, marketing, and product? And how can we go to market more effectively? So that was really the situation that we walked into of December of 2020. So next slide, please. So the first step is really around what we did to build the data foundation and partnership with Dun Bradstreet. I say build, I use that term very cautiously because it's not one and done. It's a constant maintaining and keeping up with the best in class solutions in terms of maintaining our accounts and contacts. It's really always on. So the first phase is fixing the data. So prior to us being able to link Marketo to accounts in D&B, we went to market historically by job title. So if a banking solution marketer wanted to go to market for their banking accounts, that universe was defined by how many titles we had in Marketo. So for the first time ever, we were able to provide that visibility by linking our entire Marketo database from an account perspective. How many accounts in Marketo, how many contacts associated, then how does that relate to the addressable universe? So we signed our first D&B contract in January of 21. The next step was, hey, wow, we need to do this on the Salesforce side. So we did this on the Salesforce side, and for the first time ever, we were able to understand that relationship between accounts in Marketo, accounts in Salesforce, and all their associated contacts. So what's interesting here is there are larger corporate initiatives to kind of clean up the data, single source of truth within these operational systems themselves. We really stayed away from that. We didn't want to get involved in that. We were able to pipe the data into Snowflake, couple it with our D&B data, and really serve up this data in Power BI to make really data-fueled decisions. Next slide, please. So now if we come to, kind of the insights and activation, talked about the Marketo optimizer, the Salesforce optimizer. We also have Data Visions, Hoover, and Target by the end of March, we were really providing marketing and sales, that single source of truth, to really create fact-based plans with the product teams to really set applicable demand generation goals. In some instances, we realized perhaps the goal wasn't realistic based on that company profile. There weren't enough migrations to meet their target. That's kind of like a one and done thing. You can't go back and repeat that type of growth year over year. In other cases, we realized that really these goals were too low, that there was a lot more addressable companies that we could go after. The D&B's linkage to the family hierarchy really helped that. The next phase in terms of activation is monetizing the digital intent signals. That comes in through a few ways. One, being able to couple on our own properties that D&B company identifier in our Google Analytics. The second phase, equally important, is unmasking companies that visit our website through DataVision and really having very specific demand generation program. That's been a huge success for us. So next slide, please. And you can go ahead and advance to the next. So kind of continuing on that theme, how did we use this to advance and inform the planning process? So with this specifically, what we did is, for the first time ever, we had a true understanding of the ideal customer profile, sales, marketing, and product aligning on who the account profile is, what geography, what is their size, what is their vertical, where are they a decision headquarter or not. This was the first time we really had this capability for the company. Once we did that, okay, great. What are the contacts we have addressable to market to? And oh, by the way, how many Marketo contacts do we have? And are they a customer in Salesforce? These are fundamental questions that we were able to answer, in our first 60 days. For the first time ever, we were also able to look at an overlap. We called this our tulip chart. What is the overlap between particular LOBs and the accounts and contacts that we're targeting? And then lastly, really developing very kind of external and internal views through our account sizing dashboards that let us understand, how many companies and contacts we have in Marketo and Salesforce in relation to the addressable, right? In some cases, we were super penetrated. In other cases, not so much. So this really helped us develop and prioritize our audience framework for segmentation and opportunity, having very specific discussions about how many companies are out there, how many we have today, what's the average deal size, really added a whole new level of rigor in developing our go-to-market campaign and tactic plan. So a lot of great work in a very short amount of time through our partnership together. Next slide, please. And so, our data continues. It was interesting that Sean mentioned on average 10 texts per company. If I look at this, our marketing data transformation has really accelerated. When we first, December of 2020, we really had two technologies on this entire slide, Marketo and Salesforce. We now increased that number to 11, and we have a very specific process that we go through to create data-driven decisions around the business questions that we're trying to ask. So I talked a lot already about how we activated fixing and understanding our data-driven processes. If we think about today where we are, fast forwarding a year, we realize that there's a big change management component of this. How we ran the organization in the past is very different from how we're doing today. I remember when we first sent some of the files over, they're like, oh, wow, what's going to happen? And really what we found is when we leveraged D&B, that the Salesforce and Marketo accounts really weren't that different. It was just that Salesforce had so many duplicates that you couldn't use those front end operational systems. We could get at it with Snowflake. So continuing to leverage data to understand our customer. We're doing a lot of work in terms of sharing data and our insights with the sales teams, with our CFO, and doing a lot more around total addressable market sizing. A top priority for us in second half of this year is understanding and monetizing our digital intent signals, whether that be Bombora or visitor intelligence. That tells a very specific indication that we're now using to do very prioritized activities. So that's kind of where we are today, 1 year later from where we started this journey. If I think about, what's coming up in FY23, we're really going to move the bar from descriptive reporting and predictive to predictive and prescriptive analytics. You can see, we're adding R, Python, SAS. We really want to advance the organization in its usage of marketing data and technology to make informed decision. We have over 75 marketing and sales users trained on our Power BI platform. On one of our core deliverables, we've had 50 users that have had over 4,000 hits on one of our Power BI dashboards since January. So, it's not that you think that you give this data and they're satisfied. It's really advancing the whole organization. Their desire and interest to learn more and make better decisions increases exponentially. So that's kind of like a good overview of how we're really moving towards a marketing performance-based approach to achieve our bottom line business objectives. Huge thanks to Dun Bradstreet and our partnership and where we've gotten. So as I mentioned before, even though we've accomplished a lot in terms of using data to inform decision-making processes, over 100 different people trained on our tools and leveraging them. We've already increased our tech stack just in this space from 2 to 11. It's just the beginning. I see that a lot more work done around lead scoring, attribution, monetizing our intent signals. Probably a lot more focus too on single source of truth and common vernacular and terminology between marketing, sales, and product. So thank you, Sean and team, for having me here today. We're super excited and pleased what we've done together.
Yeah, great, Jerry. I think you really captured how we've worked together, right, to create that single version of the truth, and it's helped you facilitate bringing in extra technology in a systematized, standardized way. And what we found is that it all starts with having effective data management skill sets and practices within the business, being able to provide access for our customers to tap into the D&B data cloud really does help them standardize data very, very quickly, to enrich and augment the data that they have, to create a holistic and single view of the information within their various systems that they use. And then we help you keep it clean, right? Yeah. So we can keep that customer data up to date, complete, and actionable for you guys to use. And we do this for a variety of different mechanisms. Now, you mentioned a lot of products that you use with us, and we're very proud with kind of the spring announcements that we've made at the show there at the B2B Summit this year, is really about taking these capabilities from multiple products and trying to bring them into a single way to activate those capabilities, right? So bringing that data together from any of those sources so you can layer in intelligence using our customer data platform, right? This is the centralized hub for that data, which then enables you to quickly build precise audiences, to optimize engagement across all the channels that you choose to go to business. So you mentioned visitor intelligence and unmasking anonymous visitors. That first party data is absolutely critical towards giving you the insights and understanding to what intent is actually being displayed here, and how do I prioritize the audiences that I want my sellers and my marketing teams to engage with. And then being able to track the effectiveness and seeing how people are engaging and create a continuous loop of information that helps reinform future activation strategies and go-to-market strategies and marketing plans. So you're continually optimizing for the success of your business. So wanted to thank you very much for your time today. Jerry, thanks again for your willingness to participate and share your stories and the insights that you've had. You've been a great partner, and look forward to continuing our relationship and success together. Thanks, everybody. Wish you all a great conference here.